for the future, and as well ensure, once again, that we align revenues with expenditures. Now, my opponent has said to you that he's not willing to raise taxes, and I get that. However, in Imperial County, there's a measure known as Measure D, in which that measure is used as a half-cent sales tax for road improvement and construction. He's saying that I'm wishy-washy or that I'm flip-flopping. I ask him the same.
So this question is so are you willing to raise taxes and put this economy crisis on people's shoulders?
What I'm willing to do is take a comprehensive approach and looking at how we can raise revenue. We may need to borrow. We may need to streamline processes, departments, ensure that we save where we can. To my understanding, for example, here in the state of California, we don't have a system that measures how much we drive our vehicles that are within departments. In other words, we don't know how much we're spending on gas. And other states throughout our nation, they do know that. And so what we need to do as well is that we need to take a step back and take a look at how we can stop spending or stop wasteful spending, if you will. We're going to have to make some tough choices in the future. But my goal is, at the end of the day, not to put this on the backs of our kids. Democrats will blame Republicans for borrowing. Republicans will blame Democrats for taxes. We're going to have to compromise. We're going to have to be willing to meet at the table and ensure that at the end of the day, our kids are not going to have to foot the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeandron.
My position is very clear on taxes.
Yeah, I was going to, that's a different question for you.
I didn't get the same question?
No, it's the same thing. So, are you willing to cut programs such as health and education that will affect the communities throughout the states?
Well, let me talk about taxes. I have taken a position that I will not raise new taxes. I will not create new taxes. That's bad for business. That will hurt business. What we are continually doing is we are trying to balance this out-of-control spending in Sacramento on the backs of business. And what's going to happen, what we have seen, is that businesses will not expand. Businesses will shut down. Businesses will not employ people. I have been consistent on this. My opponent is already on the record that he will raise the vehicle license fees. He has said that on the record, and that affects everyone. And he will continue to raise taxes. And I would ask him to declare today that he won't raise taxes. I will do that. I'm as good as I am not going to raise new taxes. I believe that if we continue to generate and give incentives to business, such as enterprise zones, which, by the way, reduce taxes, are incentives for business to grow. That's how we're going to get out of these economic problems. I understand how to create jobs, and I understand what is necessary, and that is, again, not creating new taxes, but enterprise zones and mechanisms such as that to expand and energize business.
Yeah, I get that. So, but are you willing to cut programs in health and education?
Here's my priorities. Fully fund education and public safety, health care. Everything is on the table. And what I will do is I am not going to have the Republican caucus, the Democratic caucus dictate to me on where we have to have the cuts. What I am going to do is come back to the people of the 80th Assembly and say, here's our difficulties. Here's where we have the problems. Where can we make these kinds of cuts that we have to make? And I will be involved with the district on where we have to make cuts if we have to. If we can energize business, we're not going to have to make these kind of cuts.
Thank you very much. The Riverside County, Mr. Perez. The Riverside County has an unemployment rate of 8.9%. The Coachella Valley has an unemployment rate above 8%. These numbers are according to the State Employment Development Department. What do you think about these numbers, and what is your plan to generate jobs?
El condado de Riverside tiene una tasa de desempleo de 8.9% y el valle de Coachella está por encima del 8%. Estos números son de acuerdo al Departamento de Trabajo del Estado. ¿Qué opina de estos números y cuál es su plan para generar empleo?
And those are dismal numbers, unfortunately, but in Imperial County, they're even worse. In Imperial County, we're looking at about a 17% up to a 20% unemployment rate. People out there have been suffering for very long, just as much as we are. Throughout the campaign trail, the number one concern that I heard from people, aside from the environment, aside from healthcare, aside from education, is the economy and jobs. People want to learn. People don't want hand-me-downs. People want a good paying job. People want to take care of their families. People want to make sure that they have access to health care and they have a good pension. So it's important for us to create jobs, and I understand that. And one way in which we can do so is by continue to invest in our enterprise zones. We do have 3 enterprise zones in the area. We have one here in the city of Coachella, we have one in Raleigh, and we have one in Coachella. We need to continue to provide the incentives and the tax credits for businesses to come in. Businesses that perhaps are willing to go elsewhere, or perhaps are willing to go to another country. We need to be business friendly. And so recruit these folks, recruit these businesses through these tax incentives so they can hire people for our local areas. As well as that, I look forward to the green collar economy. I think it's important that we tap into renewable energy opportunities. We have wind, solar, geothermal, biomass. They all exist within the 80% district. Those are windows of opportunity that we have not tapped into to the utmost potential, and I'm going to work hard to do so. Thank you very much. Once again, there's this inconsistency in the message from my opponent. On one hand, he will raise taxes, and on one hand, he wants to go after corporations and increase taxes. And then on the other hand, he just says he likes the enterprise zone, which, by the way, reduces taxes for businesses. I fully support the enterprise zone. I think that is the way that we're going to get jobs. We need to actually get more education out there on these enterprise zones. We need to make sure that we go back into Nevada, which, by the way, is recruiting businesses back into their state. They are stealing our businesses. We need to expand these enterprise zones, and we need to add to the enterprise zones business incentives that will give you additional credits if you expand your business. We'll give you additional incentives if you do research. For example, on the solar and alternative energy and geothermal, it's rich down there in the Salton Sea area. There's even a way that you can take the algae out of the sea and start to manufacture fuel. We need to do incentives for that by, again, not trying to over-regulate business, and again, give them incentives to grow, which I agree is actually tax cuts, not to put a burden on our business and over-regulate. The yellow means what, Jackie?
10 seconds. Oh, 30 seconds.
30? Okay, and then the red means 10 minutes.
Mr. Jeandron, gas prices are in all-time high. As an assemblyman representing the 80th district, is there anything you could do or could do to relieve customers? Los precios de la gasolina son los más altos de todos los puntos de California. Como asambleísta representando el Distrito 80, ¿existe algo que podría hacer o que haría para aliviar a los consumidores?
Absolutely, and I support the offshore drilling. I know that there are ways that we can do this drilling that does not damage the environment. I have actually talked with people about this, and I believe that we need to do drilling now. But we're not just drilling now. We need to have a comprehensive approach to alternative energy. We cannot continue this reliance on our dependency on oil. We have, again, a hydrogen fuel cell. We have the technology right out here in Thousand Palms. So they're on the verge of really developing hydrogen fuel cells. We need that kind of technology. Hybrids, we need the alternative energy. We need to have incentives for drilling as well. And again, geothermal and the other alternatives, this is 80% is right for alternative energy. And I believe that we can do things now as far as the drilling, and then in the future, we've got to do things to get us off the
Thank you.
We talk about greenhouse gas emissions, we talk about climate change and global warming. That should be a major concern for all of us. Now, my opponent says that we should move towards hydrogen fuel cells and we should move towards alternative energy. But yet my opponent is also receiving quite a bit of dollars from oil companies. Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, they're funding his campaign. So I wonder how he would actually be part of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and cutting oil prices or cutting gas prices when he's actually receiving quite a bit of his dollars for his campaign through these oil investors, Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron. I do believe that the future